For today's review, we are looking at the Atom from the Mcfarlane Toys digital line. And before I talk about the accessories and the figure, let's take a quick look at the data profile card. As you can see, there is this beautiful comic book artwork of the Atom, and on the backside of the card, you do have your usual read-up for who the character is. His real name is Ray Palmer, and reads, Ray Palmer is science liaison to SHADE and a hero in his own right as the Atom. He is also the creator of the Ant Farm, a pioneer in miniaturization technology, and a recent welcome addition to the Justice League of America. And that's a pretty good read-up on who the Atom is as a character. And let's move on to the accessories that are included with this action figure. And let's start with the interchangeable hands. So as you can see on the figure, by default, he does have a single fist hand and a single item holding hand. And for the two other additional hands that he comes with, he does have the open gesture hand and also the finger pointing hand. So if you want to have him point at somebody, you can do that as a hand gesture. If you want him to tell somebody to stop running, you can do that with this hand gesture because that's what it looks like to me. And that is pretty much the two additional hands that he comes with. And for the other accessory that he has, it is the miniature version of himself. So this is basically if you want to make it look like he turned small for photography, you can use this little figurine for that purpose. The only downside is that this figurine does not have any articulation, so he's basically just stuck in this pose. And for some reason, my copy of this figurine does not like to stand. So as you can see, he is on two legs, but when you put him on the table, he just falls over. Like, what? Why? So that's not good. Now, he does have these portholes on the bottom of his feet that are meant to go onto this figure stand that is included. So that's one way to have him stand, but that is not great because it would be nice if he can just stand on his own without the figure stand, but he cannot. So that is a downside for my copy of it. And speaking of accessories, which I don't usually count as an accessory, of course, he does come with this generic figure stand that we always get with these Mcfarlane Toys digital and just in general with most Mcfarlane Toys action figure. And the last thing that he comes with in this box, which is not an accessory, is of course the code. So this is how you get the digital version of this figure, which I still don't get the whole point of these. So there's that. And that is pretty much all of the contents in this box, as well as his accessories. And let's move on to the aesthetics of this figure now. Taking a closer look at the Atom, this design of the character is based on his appearance from the Silver Age period of DC Comics, and as you can see, his costume is very simple looking. It's pretty much just blue and red throughout the entirety of the suit. Now, when it comes to sculpt details, there's not a whole lot that I can really talk about here when it comes to the aesthetics, because this entire body buck here outside of the head sculpt is 100% reuse of the same generic body buck that we have seen them reuse countless times for most of their comic book action figures when it comes to DC figures. And this is not great because, you know, there's not much new stuff going on. It's just a repaint every single time. And as you can see, this one's just rocking a different set of paint in certain areas, right? The blues and the reds are not the same as what you would see on Blue Beetle, and so on. Now, when it comes to his belt, instead of sculpting it on, they just printed it on right there, as you can see, in a very simple way. There's an Atom logo right there, at least. And when it comes to his boots, you know, it's just solid blue paint, solid red paint. And on the back side, it's pretty much the same thing. It's just flat all around. And that is the body buck. Moving on to the head sculpt, which is the only new thing on here. The head sculpt is not bad looking. I like the expression that he has. He's very serious, and you can see his eyes, his nose, his mouth, even his ears. I like how all that is sculpted. And luckily for my copy of the figure, he does have the Atom logo up here that's not misaligned. It's actually centered, because the last couple that I saw, the last time I saw this figure in the stores, they've had this weird QC problem where this logo is misaligned. So I'm very fortunate that I took a gamble with Amazon here, and it actually turned out to be a good one. So there it is. And that's everything I can really say about the aesthetics for this guy, because there's not a whole lot going on here. Now, in terms of an Atom figure for your collection to fit in with your Justice League, yes, this one will definitely get the job done if that's all you want this figure for. So if you don't have this guy, I would say pick him up right now, because he is marked down to like $17 right now on Amazon. It's, better than paying whatever the retail price for this guy is. I believe it's around like $24.99 with tax. So if you can get him discounted, do so, because not a bad figure to pick up, honestly. All right. Since I've covered the articulation for this body buck so many times, we're just going to jump into the comparisons now and skip the articulation. For the first comparison, here is the Atom next to the classic version of Barbara Gordon Batgirl. And as you can see, they do fit together nicely because they are both comic book designs, and because of the simplicity of how their suits look, it just works. So, not a bad one to have next to if you want to have Atom working with Batgirl. And for the next comparison, here he is next to the Silver Age version of Superman. And since they are both from the same period of DC Comics when it comes to the versions here that they base these designs off of, they will definitely work together. So there's that. And also, he is taller than Atom, so that is also a nice touch right there. And for the last comparison, here he is next to the Titans build figure, Beast Boy. And as you can see, Beast Boy is, of course, taller than the Atom. And bringing this little figurine back in, you can also have this figurine be a representation of the Atom if he just turned small, so there's that. And that is basically going to be all the comparisons for today's review. And if you found today's review of the Atom informative, do give this video a like. If you want to subscribe to the channel for more action figure content and whatever else I do on here, it would be much appreciated. And with that said, take care, and I will see you in the next video.